My mother-in-law once told me, "In this family, love is just another word for leverage." I laughed. I thought she was joking. She wasn't, and by the time I figured that out, I'd already handed her every weapon she needed to destroy me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where it actually started, with a case, a corporation, and the worst decision I ever made for the best possible reasons. My name is Roberta, Bobby, if you know me, and 6 months ago, I was a newly married woman living in a Gold Coast brownstone in Chicago. Married to a man whose family name was on 3 buildings I could see from our bedroom window. Marcus Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell Group. Real estate, private equity, political connections that went back 3 generations. The kind of family where Thanksgiving dinner had a seating chart and nobody smiled without a reason. I loved him. God, I loved him. But loving Marcus meant loving the machine he came with. And that machine had teeth. Here's what you need to know. Marcus and I have a history. A long, complicated, messy history. We met in college, fell hard, and then everything went sideways. I got pregnant. His family didn't approve. I left, raised our son Kai alone for 7 years. 7 years of no contact, no support, just me and my boy against the world. Then Marcus found us, fought for us, moved heaven and earth to bring us home. And I let him. Because despite everything, he was still the love of my life. So there I was, 6 months into our marriage, building a new life in Chicago, working at a mid-sized law firm that was thrilled to have a Mitchell on the letterhead, even if it was just the wife. And then, the Gaines case landed on my desk. Gaines Corporation, big name in industrial manufacturing, bigger name in cutting corners. They'd been dumping chemical waste near a residential area on the South Side for over a decade. And I know the South Side. I grew up there. I knew kids who got sick. I knew families who buried people too young and couldn't prove why. So when a coalition of residents came looking for a lawyer willing to take on Gaines, I didn't hesitate. I should have. Marcus tried to warn me, not in a controlling way. Not then, anyway. We were lying in bed one night, and I told him I was taking the case, and he got quiet. That specific kind of quiet that meant he was choosing his words carefully. "Bobby," he said, "I support you, always. You know that, but Gaines isn't just some company. Richard Gaines has been at my mother's Christmas party for the last 15 years. His firm handles construction contracts for 3 of our developments. You go after Gaines, you're not just fighting a corporation. You're pulling a thread that's connected to my family. And threads like that don't unravel cleanly." I heard him. I really did. But here's the thing. And I'm being honest with you because there's no point in telling this story if I'm going to lie about who I was. Part of me took that case because it was the right thing to do. Those families deserved justice. That part was real. But another part of me, a part I didn't want to look at too closely, took that case because I needed to prove something. 6 months in Chicago, and every room I walked into, I could feel it. The whispers, the looks. That's Marcus Mitchell's wife. Not, that's Bobby Mitchell, the lawyer who closed the Hayward merger in 3 weeks. Just the wife. The woman who showed up pregnant, disappeared for 7 years, and came back to claim the prize. I needed a win that was mine, not Marcus's, not the Mitchell name, mine. So I took the case, filed the suit, and for about 2 weeks, everything was fine. Marcus was right about the thread, but he was wrong about where it led. It didn't lead to Gaines Corporation. It led straight to his own brother. Now, before I tell you what James did, I need you to understand something. Because if I just paint him as the villain, I'd be lying. And the truth is so much worse than a simple villain story. James Mitchell, Marcus's younger brother, 41, sharp jaw, sharper mind. The kind of guy who wore his ambition like cologne. You could smell it the second he walked into a room. And for 7 years, the same 7 years Marcus spent searching for me and Kai, James was the one who kept the Mitchell empire standing. 7 years. Think about that. Marcus left. Just left. Told the board he had personal matters to handle and disappeared into private investigators and international searches and a grief so big it swallowed his entire life. And James stepped in. Not because anyone asked, not because anyone thanked him, because someone had to. He restructured the real estate portfolio during the worst market correction in a decade. He fought off a hostile acquisition attempt that almost gutted the company. He sat in hospital rooms with Eleanor when she had her health scare, while Marcus was somewhere in Europe chasing a lead on my location. James missed his own divorce proceedings because he was in a board meeting, saving a deal that would have cost the family $200 million. His ex-wife told the judge he loved that company more than he loved her. She wasn't wrong. And then Marcus came back, with me, with Kai, and Eleanor. The woman James had held upright for 7 years, looked at her firstborn son, and handed him back the keys, like James had just been keeping the seat warm. I watched it happen. That first family dinner after we moved to Chicago. Eleanor at the head of the table, Marcus on her right, James on her left. And Eleanor spent the entire evening asking Marcus about strategy, about the new development on Michigan Avenue, about quarterly projections. She asked James one question the whole night. "James, could you pass the bread?" He passed the bread, and his face didn't change. But something behind his eyes went out, like somebody flipped a switch. I'm telling you this because I need you to hear me when I say, I understood James. If I'd spent 7 years holding something together with my bare hands, and someone waltzed back in and took it all without so much as a thank you, I'd be furious. I'd be broken. The difference between me and James wasn't the anger. It was what he chose to do with it. But I didn't know that yet. Not at that dinner. At that dinner, I just felt sorry for him. I told myself James was just adjusting, that he'd come around. Then I found out what he'd been doing behind our backs for 3 months. And adjusting wasn't exactly the word. It started in a parking garage. Because apparently, every terrible thing in my life starts in a parking garage. I was leaving the office late, maybe 8:30. The garage was mostly empty. My heels were echoing off the concrete, and I was digging through my purse for my keys when a voice came from behind me. "Mrs. Mitchell." I turned. A man was leaning against the car next to mine. Expensive suit, practiced smile, the kind of face that probably looked friendly in a boardroom, but felt like a threat in an empty parking garage at night. Patrick Stone. I knew who he was. Lead counsel for Gaines Corporation, the company I was suing. "We should talk," he said, casual, like we'd bumped into each other at Whole Foods. "About your case." The one that's causing so much disruption. My heart was hammering, but I kept my voice flat. "If you want to discuss settlement terms, contact my office through proper channels." "Settlement," he smiled. "That's one option. The other is you drop the case entirely, walk away, tell your clients you can't continue representation." "And why would I do that?" "Because you're new to Chicago, Mrs. Mitchell." He straightened up, and the friendly act fell away like a coat dropping to the floor. "New to how things work here. You're making powerful people very uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people make rash decisions." He let that sit for a second. Then, and here's the part that still keeps me up at night, he tilted his head and said, "You have a family now. A son. 7 years old? Lincoln Academy, right? Smart kid. Very visible." My blood went cold. Not cool. Cold. The kind of cold that starts in your stomach and crawls up your spine until you can't feel your fingers. "Are you threatening my child?" I'm providing context. He placed a business card on the hood of my car. "You have until Friday to withdraw. After that, we pursue alternative strategies." He walked away, and I stood there in that parking garage, shaking. Not the dramatic movie kind of shaking, the ugly kind. The kind where your jaw locks up and your knees feel like they're made of water, and you're trying not to throw up on your own shoes. I gripped my keys so hard they cut into my palm. I should tell you, I'd been wearing a recording device for 2 weeks. Ever since the first time someone from Gaines called my office with a friendly suggestion to reconsider. Illinois is a one-party consent state. I had every word. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could drive. Played back the recording twice, heard my own voice, steady and professional, while my hands were shaking so hard the steering wheel was vibrating. That's what they don't tell you about being brave. It doesn't feel brave. It feels like you're about to die and you're just too stubborn to sit down. When I got home, Marcus was on the living room floor with Kai, both of them hunched over architectural blueprints like two generals planning a campaign. Kai was 7 and already correcting his father's structural assessments. That kid. I swear, sometimes I forgot he was in 1st grade. Kai looked up first. He always noticed everything. "Mom's heart rate is elevated," he announced. "Approximately 95 beats per minute. Respiratory pattern indicates acute stress." Something happened. Marcus was on his feet immediately. What happened? I looked at Kai. Baby, can you give us a minute? If this is about the Gaines lawsuit, I've been monitoring the filings. You left your briefcase open last week. I didn't even have the energy to be shocked. I told Marcus everything, played the recording, watched his face change, not to anger, past anger, to something colder, something I'd only seen once before, in that hotel lobby where he first met Kai and realized someone had kept his son from him for 7 years. No one threatens my wife, he said quietly. No one mentions my son. And absolutely no one combines those two things and walks away clean. And here's the part that bothered me. Even then, even through the fear, he didn't say, no one threatens you. He said, no one threatens my wife. Like I was a title, a position, something that belonged to him. I pushed it down, told myself I was reading too much into it. He was scared. He was angry. People say things. My 7-year-old, meanwhile, was already pulling up his tablet. I'll research Gaines's corporate structure. If they're threatening you, they're vulnerable somewhere. Everyone is. You're doing homework, I said, not corporate espionage. I can multitask. I looked at my son, this tiny human in a perfectly knotted tie, already mapping out attack strategies, and felt two things at once. Pride and a deep, aching sadness, because my 7-year-old shouldn't know what witness intimidation means. But he did, because this was his life now. Our life. Marcus handled it. Of course he did. He always handles things. The problem is, his version of handling looked a lot like control, and I was starting to notice. The next morning, Marcus left the house at 5 a.m. I know, because the bed went cold and I woke up reaching for him. He'd laid out his black suit the night before. I didn't think anything of it then. I didn't know yet that Marcus had a system. Black suit for destruction, navy for negotiation, gray for family. My 7-year-old knew. I didn't. That should have told me something. By noon, my phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Gaines has agreed to settle. Full amount, plus 20% for emotional distress. Problem handled. Don't worry. I love you. I stared at that text for a long time. Full settlement. In one morning, I texted back, what did you do? Nothing illegal. Probably. Marcus, I love you. See you tonight. I found out later, not from Marcus, from Kai, because apparently my son had better intelligence than I did, that Marcus had walked into Gaines' headquarters, played the parking garage recording for Richard Gaines, and then calmly explained that he'd purchased 6% of Gaines Corporation's outstanding shares before breakfast. 6% in one morning. Without telling me, without asking me. He combined that with board connections, evidence of shell corporations routing money through tax havens, and a very specific promise about what would happen if anyone from Gaines ever looked in my direction again. Richard Gaines folded like a lawn chair, and I should have been grateful. I should have been relieved. Part of me was, but another part of me, the part that spent 7 years raising Kai alone, winning cases on my own, building a career with no one's name behind me, that part felt something else entirely. He didn't consult me, didn't ask if I wanted him to intervene, didn't give me the chance to fight my own fight. He just handled it. The way you handle a problem, the way you handle a situation. And somewhere in that handling, my case stopped being my case. It became his rescue mission. Then he assigned me a security detail, 3 people following me to work, watching the house, shadowing Kai at school. Again, no discussion. No, what do you think, Bobby? Just, this is happening. Non-negotiable. I'd burn this entire city to keep you safe, he told me that night over dinner. And he meant it. Every word. And I sat there thinking, that's either the most romantic or the most terrifying thing anyone's ever said to me. Because the man who'd burn a city for you is also the man who decides what's safe and what isn't. And you don't always get a vote. But the real shock wasn't what Marcus did to Gaines. It was what I found out his mother had been doing to me. If you think that's bad, wait, because I haven't told you what Kai found on Eleanor's phone yet. See, when Kai hacked James's computer, and yes, my 7-year-old hacked his uncle's computer, installed tracking software when James left his laptop unlocked during a family visit, because apparently that's just who my child is. He found exactly what you'd expect. Financial transfers to Patrick Stone's firm. Coordination with Gaines's legal team. A 3-month plan to use my case to make Marcus look emotionally unstable and unfit for leadership. James wanted the company back. He'd been building a case to oust Marcus at the next quarterly board meeting. Classic corporate coup. But Kai also found something he wasn't expecting. Emails between James and Eleanor. Not the kind where she's telling him to stop. The kind where she's watching, monitoring, tracking James's moves without intervening. One email, sent from Eleanor to her personal attorney, read, "Let it play out. I need to see how she handles pressure." She, not James. She, me. Kai brought this to me. Not to Marcus. He came to my study one night, closed the door, sat down across from me with his tablet, and said, "Mom, I need to show you something, and you're not going to like it." He showed me the emails, the timeline. Eleanor had known about James's plan for at least 2 months. She knew Patrick Stone was hired to intimidate me. She knew about the board members James was cultivating, and she did nothing. Not because she supported James, but because she was using the entire situation as a test. A test of me. Every awkward family dinner where she watched me struggle with cultural expectations, she was evaluating. When she didn't warn me about the Gaines connections, she was measuring. When she let James escalate from corporate maneuvering to threats against my child, she was watching to see if I'd break. I drove to Eleanor's Lakeshore Drive penthouse the next morning. Didn't tell Marcus, didn't bring Kai, just me and the kind of anger that goes so deep it comes out quiet. She opened the door like she'd been expecting me. Probably had. Eleanor Mitchell didn't get surprised. She scheduled surprises and showed up early. "You knew," I said. Didn't sit down, didn't take off my coat. "You knew about James. You knew about Patrick Stone. You knew someone threatened to hurt your grandson, and you did nothing." Eleanor walked to her kitchen, poured 2 cups of coffee, set one on the counter in front of me, sat down. "I knew," she said. No denial, no excuse, just fact. "Why?" "Because I needed to know if you'd survive." I almost laughed. "Survive?" "Your son's lawyer threatened my child. Your other son was plotting to destroy our family. And you just watched?" "I didn't just watch." Her voice was calm, the kind of calm that comes from decades of making decisions that would break most people. "I managed. James was never going to succeed. I had contingencies in place before he made his first move. Your son was never in real danger. I had private security on him before Marcus even knew there was a threat. That doesn't make it okay." "No, it doesn't." She looked at me, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw something honest in her face. Not warmth. Eleanor didn't do warmth, but respect. Maybe. Or something close to it. "In this family," she said, "weakness gets you destroyed, erased, made irrelevant." I watched it happen to James's wife. She was kind and soft and completely unprepared for what this family demands. She lasted 4 years and left with nothing but a settlement and a Xanax prescription. She leaned forward. "I needed to know you weren't her. I needed to know that when the pressure came, and it always comes, you wouldn't crumble. You wouldn't run. You wouldn't hide behind my son and let him fight your battles. So you manufactured a crisis. I allowed one to proceed naturally. There's a difference." "No, there isn't." Silence. Long, heavy. The kind of silence where you can hear the refrigerator humming 3 rooms away. "You don't get to test me," I said, and my voice cracked, which I hated. "I'm not applying for a position in your family. I am your family." Something shifted in her expression, small, almost invisible. "Then act like it," she said quietly. "Family in this house means you fight, even when it's ugly, especially when it's ugly. Can you do that?" I looked at this woman, this cold, calculating, terrifying woman who had orchestrated my worst 3 months in Chicago like a chess game. And I hated her, and I understood her, and I hated that I understood her. "I've been doing that," I said, "since the day your son walked back into my life." She held my gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded once, picked up her coffee. "Good," she said. "Now sit down. We have a family meeting to plan, and James needs to be dealt with before he does something we can't undo." I sat down, drank the coffee, and I told myself I was choosing to play her game, that it was my decision. But even then, sitting across from Eleanor Mitchell, I could feel it. The slow, quiet shift of becoming something I wasn't sure I wanted to be. The family meeting happened 3 days later. Eleanor called it. Every major family member, every board member, all of them packed into the Mitchell Group's executive conference room on the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline. The kind of room designed to remind you who owned the view. James sat across from Marcus, smiling, relaxed, like he hadn't spent 3 months trying to dismantle his brother's life.
Eleanor sat at the head of the table, because of course she did.
She'd been at the head of every table since before I was born. And she'd be at the head of whatever table they put in her nursing home 50 years from now. I sat next to Marcus. Kai sat next to me. 7 years old, navy blazer, tie knotted perfectly, looking like the world's smallest attorney. I'd told him he didn't have to come. He'd told me that was a ridiculous suggestion, and that he'd already prepared a presentation. Eleanor opened the meeting by saying, "Someone attempted to threaten my grandson, and I'd like to discuss why." The room went still. James kept his smile. "That's terrible," he said. "Do we know who?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Patrick Stone. From Stone and Caldwell. The same firm you've been paying for 3 months." The smile cracked. "Just a little, just around the edges." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." Kai's voice. Early, calm, completely unbothered. My 7-year-old pulled up his tablet and projected files onto the conference room screen. Financial transfers, email threads, meeting schedules, text messages coordinating with Stone and Caldwell. Plans to use my case as leverage to make Marcus look emotionally unstable. 3 months of careful, methodical betrayal, laid out in spreadsheets and timestamps. And there, in plain text, the message that made everyone at the table stop breathing. An email from James's associate to Patrick Stone. "If legal pressure doesn't work, we'll need to apply personal pressure." The child is the obvious leverage point. The child. My child. Written about like a chess piece to be moved across a board. James shot to his feet. "I didn't authorize that. I never said to go after Kai." "But you knew," Marcus said. His voice was quiet, dead quiet. "The most dangerous version of my husband. You knew your partners were escalating. You knew they were threatening my wife, and you did nothing to stop it because it served your purposes. I was trying to protect the family business from your emotional decisions." By partnering with people who threaten children, Eleanor's voice could have cut glass. The entire room flinched. "By betraying your own blood? For what, James? A chance at leadership you were never capable of handling? I'm more capable than him." James pointed at Marcus, and his voice broke open for the first time. He left. He left for 7 years. I held this family together. I saved this company. And the second he walks back in with her, he gestured at me without looking at me. Everyone just forgets. Everyone just pretends those 7 years didn't happen. The room was dead silent. And here's the thing. Even in that moment, even with my son's name in a threat email on a screen behind him, I felt it, that pull of understanding, because he wasn't wrong. Not about the 7 years, not about being forgotten. He was wrong about everything he did with that pain. But the pain itself, that was real. Eleanor stood slowly, walked around the table. Every person she passed seemed to shrink a little, like she was pulling the air out of the room as she moved. She stopped in front of James. "You have 2 choices," she said. "Take a leave. Get help. Come back when you remember what family means. Or I end you. Not Marcus. Not the board. Me." James looked around the table. At the board members who wouldn't meet his eyes. At family members who studied the wood grain in front of them. At Marcus, whose face was stone. At Kai, who stared back at him with an expression no 7-year-old should know how to make. "Fine," he said. His voice was rough. "Stripped. I'll go." He gathered his things, walked toward the door, and then he stopped, turned, looked directly at me. "You think you won?" he said. "You married into a family that eats its own. Give it time, they'll do the same to you." And he left. The room slowly exhaled. Eleanor handled the rest. Dismissed the board members, made calls, set the machinery of damage control in motion. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. Kai quietly closed his tablet and stared out the window, but I couldn't stop hearing James's voice. Not the anger, not the bitterness, the certainty. Like he wasn't threatening me, like he was trying to warn me, and I couldn't decide which was worse. James left Chicago that night, but his words didn't leave with him. They stayed. And 3 months later, I understood exactly what he meant. The case settled, for real this time. No injunctions, no interference. My firm's senior partner apologized for suggesting I drop it. Kai got ungrounded after arguing, successfully, that extended punishment for past offenses constituted cruel and unusual treatment under international human rights law. Marcus looked at me after that one and said, "Did our son just cite the Geneva Convention to get out of being grounded?" And I said, "Welcome to parenting a genius." Life got normal, or what passed for normal when your husband owned half the city and your kid read the Wall Street Journal over breakfast. But I was different. I could feel it. Small things at first. The way I started reading people at dinner parties, not enjoying conversations, but mapping alliances, cataloging who owed what to whom. The way I stopped being surprised by manipulation and started anticipating it. The way I found myself thinking 3 moves ahead in every interaction, even with friends, especially with friends. One morning, I was getting dressed for work, and I caught myself in the mirror. Black suit, hair pulled back tight, expression carefully neutral. And for half a second, just a flash, I didn't see myself. I saw Eleanor. The same posture, the same controlled face, the same eyes that calculated before they felt. I blinked, and it was just me again. But the image stayed. That evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner. Kai was at the counter doing homework. Real homework, not corporate espionage for once. Marcus was working late. The house was quiet, in that way that used to feel peaceful and now just felt like the space between moves. Kai looked up from his math worksheet, studied me for a moment with those 2 sharp eyes. "Mom?" "Yeah, baby?" "Are you happy?" I opened my mouth to say yes. Automatic. Reflexive. The answer you're supposed to give your 7-year-old when he asks if you're okay. But Kai didn't ask if I was okay. He asked if I was happy, and he was looking at me the way he looked at everything. Like he already knew the answer and wanted to see if I'd be honest about it. I set down the spoon, looked at my son. "I'm safe," I said. "I'm strong. I'm exactly where I need to be." Kai didn't blink. "That's not what I asked." No, it wasn't. I stood there in my beautiful kitchen, in my beautiful house, in my beautiful life, and I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I didn't know anymore. I had everything I'd fought for. The marriage, the career, the family. I'd survived Eleanor's test. I'd outlasted James. I'd proven I belonged. But somewhere in the proving, something had shifted. I'd walked into the Mitchell family as Bobby. Stubborn, emotional, fiercely independent Bobby who cried at commercials and laughed too loud and trusted too easily. And now, I was something else. Something harder. Something more careful. Something that looked a lot like the woman who'd told me love was just another word for leverage. I'd survived the Mitchell family. The question I couldn't answer. The one that kept me up at night. The one I'm still turning over in my head right now as I'm telling you this. Is whether surviving it and becoming it are the same thing. Kai went back to his homework. I went back to making dinner. And the house stayed quiet. Some fights you win and walk away whole. Some fights you win and leave pieces of yourself on the ground that you don't even notice are missing until you reach for them one day and they're just gone. I don't know which kind this was yet, but I'm starting to figure it out. So I'm going to leave you with this. There are 3 people in this story who did questionable things for what they believed were the right reasons. Marcus controlled my life to keep me safe. Eleanor manipulated me to make me strong. James betrayed us because he felt thrown away. All 3 of them would look you in the eye and say, "I did it for the family." And the scariest part? I believe all of them. So who was right? Who was wrong? Was anyone? Because the longer I live in this family, the more I realize that right and wrong don't mean what I thought they meant. Drop a comment. Tell me who you're siding with and why. And be honest. Because I need honest right now more than I need comfortable.